Hi guys and girls on YouTube and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be looking at a vintage 14-inch Fidelity TV. Now I'm quite excited about looking at this TV because I used to sell these and I used to repair these in the 1980s, and I think they were about £199 brand new, so you could sell a second-hand one for £99 very easily, which was quite a lot of money in the 1980s. Now Fidelity, this particular one, they actually made two different models, the ZX2000 and the ZX3000. Now the ZX2000, the very early one, that was a really good TV. It was well laid out over two circuit boards, a signals board and a power and line output board. But unfortunately, the line output transformers in them had a very short life and a lot failed just out of the warranty. And at the time, the line transformer was not available. So a lot of the early ZX2000s actually got scrapped. Then they brought out another one, a ZX3000, which looked the same, but it had a different board inside. It had a one-piece board, and it was an absolutely dreadful thing to work on. There were no markings on the circuit board. You had to remove all the board from a plastic frame so you could get to the back. And it was a dreadful TV. But then somebody brought out a modification for some early ZX2000s where you could fit a new line transformer onto a little board and soldered that into the TV, and it was like a modification replacement. But I think by then a lot of the 2000s have been scrapped. So we're going to take a look at this TV. My thoughts are it will be one of the later ZX3000s. But I haven't taken the back off yet, so just let's have a quick look first. I've just pulled it out of storage. I've actually had this for quite a while now, so anybody who used to repair TVs in the 80s will probably recognise one of these. Now unfortunately the tuning doors broke, which is quite important because it operates there, the AFC switch, so we'll worry about that later. That's the front panel there. It had an unusual remote control on and off. The switch is actually on a relay, so you could switch it on with your finger and you could turn it off with the remote control, but then to turn it back on you had to press the switch back in because the solenoid flung the switch out. Now somewhere I've still got these switches in stock, so that's not going to be a big deal, but let's turn it round first, have a quick look at the back, and then we'll whip the back off and see what chassis it's in. I think in the meantime though I might just have to look out the service manual. Now it's not in too bad cosmetic condition apart from being a bit dirty, and the first thing you'll notice is it has a white moulded plug on. Now that's obviously been changed because in the days these didn't come with a plug, and they certainly didn't come with a moulded plug. And there's a sticker on the back there. So it has been in for repair somewhere. Now I don't recognise that company, but it's Chesterfield. It's not that far away from me. So what I'll do is I'll stop the camera. I'll go and look for both the service manuals for the 2000 and the 3000. Then we'll take the back off and see what chassis fitted inside. Right, so here I am looking through my old service manuals. Now I've not found it yet, but they're going to be in here somewhere. But I'm sure you'll recognise some of these. Rank Bush Ranger, Grundig CUC20, TX9, TX10, Rank T22, Z718, Ferguson, Telefunken 711 chassis. So let's just stop the camera. It's going to take a while to look through these because there's not just one filing cabinet, there's actually 3 filing cabinets to look through, but I'll find it. Right, so a little while later I managed to find all my Fidelity service manuals. So before we take the back of the telly, let's just have a quick look at some long forgotten about models. Dated from 1984. This is the Fidelity CTV14R. This is another absolutely dreadful set to work on. I remember working one of these. I had it for about 2 months before I found the fault on it because it was such a complex thing to work on. That's the AVS 1600. As you can see, it's a record player, a tape player, radio, a 20-inch telly, all in a great big cabinet. Can't just see a date on that. So the next one here is the Fidelity 20-inch CTM2000. That's a monitor. Oh, that's June 1986. So here we have the ZX2000, which I think my set is. That's the Mark II. That's the dreadful one. There was also a ZX3000 with teletext. That is the Fidelity F14 with remote control. That's June 1986. That's another similar telly, April 87. That's the CTV14R. That's another one for the 3000. That's probably just a duplicate. And that is the Fidelity ZX2000. That's actually a 20-inch one, I think. But the service manual is the same, apart from a few minor differences. So we do have here both manuals for whichever one the set is. Right, guys and girls, so I've got the back off. I'm even more excited now because this is actually a very early ZX2000. Let's just move some of the dust there. There we go, ZX2000 chassis. Now, actually, I've been thinking, and it's all coming back to me now. The original, if we look at this, somebody's already fitted the transformer on the little board. So as long as that transformer's all right, there shouldn't be a problem repairing this set. Some of these used to suffer from insulation breakdown here, arcing. Now, if that's arcing, we're going to be in trouble. But I remembered now that the transformer originally fitted to this set, it didn't have the A1 and the focus control on. They were actually fitted on the tube base. And if you can see there, that's where the focus control's been removed, and that's where the A1 control's been removed from. So it's fitted with a Toshiba black stripe tube, so that'll be good. I guess the thing to do now is to just check the fuses, and if the fuse is in order, run it up from a variac, and then we'll have to get this out the chassis. As you can see, it's in two parts. That's the signals board, and that's the power and line board. But if we move some of this dust, you can actually see all the component, the legends are actually printed on the circuit board. I think is that TDA2581 line oscillator, but as you can see, the legends are printed on the board. On the ZX3000, this board was just blank, so it was impossible. It was a right nightmare looking on the service manual to actually see where components were, but these are all nicely labelled up, so I don't see any problem. As long as the line transformer in that's still alright, I don't see any problem why this shouldn't be repairable. So first of all, we'll just take a quick look at the service manual. Now, like I said, this is for the 20-inch version, so I think it'll have a different line transformer, and also I think this has a 7-segment display on the front for the channels, where on the 14-inch we just have 6 LEDs. But just coming back to the on and off switch I was telling you about, that's the kind of switch that was fitted with a solenoid on the back. Now, I think this is for a rediffusion Mark IV, because that's round. I think the Fidelity one's square, but for those of you who haven't seen one of these, I'll just show you. I'll just give you a quick demonstration of how this operates. So you turn it on by pressing it in, but then when you turned it off on the remote control, if I can hold the camera at the same time, what it did, it put power to this relay, or solenoid, sorry, and then, as you see, the switch there is clicked out. So it was like a one-time remote control. It couldn't be turned on. You had to press that back in to turn it on. So let's have a quick look at the service manual first. That's the wiring up diagram. Ah, yes, it is. It's a square on the Fidelity. So that, although it's the right switch, it's not got the right end on. So here's the diagram. Look at that, all nice and easy to understand. As long as the transformer's alright, there won't be any problem at all repairing this. All these chips, I've got all these in stock already, as I've had for the last 30 odd years. Yeah, so if we take a look at that there, it's got the differences marked on the manual for the 14-inch and the 20. And if we just come up to the top there, that's a 7-segment display, which is different to mine, but we won't concern ourselves with that because it's more likely to be a power or a line fault wrong with a telly like this. So I think the best thing to do is run it up first with a variac, see what happens, and then give it a good clean out, check it for dry joints, and let's see where we go from there, guys and girls. Right, well there you go. As you can see, I've got the chassis out. It is actually very, very dirty inside. So I think before we do anything else, what I'm going to do is hoover all this dust out. See, it's a little bit cleaner to the back, but let's get all this hoovered out and then we'll move on from there. Right, okay, so now I've got all the dust out, we can have a really good look at this, and you'll see why repairing TVs in the 80s was so easy, because everything's so clearly labelled out, all the parts are big, there's plenty of space to work around things. Let's just take a moment to have a scan around the chassis. That's the power supply part. That's the new line output transformer. You can see the mod board there. Now it must be 30 years since I last repaired one of these, so I don't actually remember a lot of the common faults, but what I do know is when the original transformer used to go, this 10 ohm resistor here would go open circuit and your TV would have no picture, but the IF stages will still be working and you'd pick up a radio station. So let's just have a quick look round here, and then we'll move to the small signals board. As you can see, it's on two separate boards. There's another board there with a small signals chroma, tuner, luminance delay line, tube base. So I'll pull that off. Now you can see where the original G2 control was and the original focus control, which were originally not used because this transformer's been changed for built-in ones. I've actually got the number off the transformer. That might jog some people's memories. FCC2015BE. So all we need to do now is take a look underneath, have a good look for dry joints, and then we'll reform the main cap and we'll turn it on. So there's a few hot spots here and there that I want attending to. You can see where somebody's fitted the transformer and not cleaned the flux off. Right, so let's just press on with this then. Right, well that's all the dry joints attended to. I've cleaned all the flux off where the line transformer's been replaced. I've done a few more dry joints in these hot spots. Everything's looking good. I've checked the two fuses, one down here, the mains input, and the HT fuse. They're both alright. So I think the chopper transistor, that's not going to be short circuit, and the degaussing persistor, that'll be okay. Otherwise that'll blow the fuse. I think just as a precaution, before we turn this on, I'm just going to reform the main smoothing capacitor. Because I've no idea when this set was last used. So let's stop the video there and come back in a bit. Right, so sometime later the main reservoir capacitor's reformed. We're all ready to go, but I've just noticed this cap here, that the case has cracked and the end's fallen off. Now that's C809 and it's part of the chopper control circuit. So if we move over to here, when we get this into focus, 809 33NF, and it's connected to pin 5, which is actually part of the slow start circuit. So there's a possibility, because the case is cracked, that could have absorbed moisture. So I'm just going to change that as a precaution before we turn it on. Right, so that's the closest one I've got that looks like it, so that won't look too out of place. Right, so that's the new cap in. Obviously it's not from the same time period, and you can tell it does stand out, but it's not a bad match, and it's the best one I've got. So all we need to do now is, fingers crossed, just go for the big switch on. Right, so here we go. I'll switch it on at the front first, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it on at the socket here, so we can stand well back. Okay guys and girls, wish me luck, here we go. Ah, now I can hear sound. Ah, and the picture's on. Right, let's just stop the camera and get this tuned into a signal source. Right, so what I have noticed, and it might not show up on the camera this, the picture's actually a little bit green and it looks a little bit defocused. It looks a little bit like we haven't got enough heater volts. But I think the first thing to do is, I've got it onto a skybox now, let's get it tuned in first and get a picture on it. Yeah, as you can see, it's flaring a bit there, so either the tube's a bit low emission or we don't have enough heater volts. Right, let me just sort that out first, so no satellite problem.
Do you know where it goes?
Took her for a drink on Sun.
Yeah. Here's the next question. Which of these European cities is furthest north? I'm great at this. A. Zwolle, B. Zurich, C. Zagreb.
I know that Zurich's Switzerland, which is middle.
Yeah.
So it was just a toss-up between the other two, so I went for Zagreb.
Correct answer is, never even heard of Zwolle. Never heard of it. Stay where you are. Chaser's put, never heard of Zwolle. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was looking at Dominic's body language. Which one he thought it was, I knew would be the wrong.
Yeah, well, as you can see, all the controls are the controls are very noisy, so they weren't taken out and cleaning. But the picture's definitely looking a little bit flat. Let's just turn it off a minute. Now that was sometimes a problem in the 80s. You fit, when it comes back into focus, you fit a replacement transformer and the heater voltage is not always right. Some of these replacement transformers weren't all that much of a good quality thing, so let's just make a check on the heater volts first, because either the heater voltage is down or the tube's a bit low emission. So the first thing to do before we twiddle anything is just check the heater voltage. Right, because I can't hold this at the same time as hold the camera, I've actually soldered the wires onto my tester. Now if we take a look at this, this isn't a linear instrument. This is only calibrated to read exactly 6.3. So if it doesn't read 6.3, you can't really take much notice of the reading. Like I say, it's only calibrated for 6.3. So let's turn on. Yep, around the front. And there we go. Although it appears to be reading 3, don't take any notice of that. all that's important is it's not reading 6.3. Right, so we're going to have to make some adjustment to the heater voltage. So if we move over to the manual, and you see here the CRT heaters come through R907, which is a 2 watt 2.7 ohm resistor. So we're either going to have to swap that for a different resistor, or we're going to have to put an inductor in there to adjust the heater volts. Now I'm not sure where it is. It'll be somewhere down there coming off the line transformer, so I'll just take a quick look at that. Right, so okay, I found it. It's right down here at the very back. Now we know we've got less than 6.3 on one end. Let's have a look what we've got on the other end. Right, and there we've got over 6.3, so we can't just short that resistor out. We're going to have to recalculate a new value for that and replace it. Right, so slight change of plan. In order to get exactly the right heater voltage, what I've done is I've taken a small inductor and I've actually wound off some turns of copper wire till we get exactly the right heater voltage, and I'm going to fit this inductor instead of a resistor. Right, I think that was a better idea than messing about with trying to parallel different resistors up to get the right value. I've fitted in an inductor. Now we're going to turn on. When it reads 6.0 on there, that's exactly 6.3 volt. And there we go. So we've got exactly 6.3 volt on the heater now. Got rid of the series of resistor, put an inductor in. Let's check the picture now. Right, and straight away I can see there's a vast improvement in the picture. It's nice and bright and white now and no longer green.
For the best price.
Yeah. We can put it up to 90.
We can put it to 90. Let's put 100 with discretion, so that means
Okay,
90.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And estimate 100 to 150.
Okay.
And if they stop at 80, don't let me say I told you so.
Right, we've still got the crackly volume control to do, but I've just noticed there's a little bit of a purity error in there, so it just needs degaussing. Let's swap the skybox from colour bars to a picture. And yeah, plenty of brightness now, plenty of colour. Obviously you can't see it because of the camera, but
Of instrument you can possibly.
try and get a different angle on the camera and get rid of that black bar, but it's not going away. So there we go, guys and girls. That's the Fidelity ZX2000 chassis. Bring it back into focus again.
Beautiful.
I do, I think that's probably saved lots of lives.
Gosh.
That's Spencer Wells forceps for opening the wood.
Right, so I think just before we finish the video, I'll just see if we can get rid of this purity error. I'm sure it just needs degaussing. It might need the purity magnets altering on the back of the TV, but I'm just going to put it on the teletest and we'll have a look. So that's displaying bars now. And as you can see, we've got a purple patch in this corner, so just let's give it a quick degauss and see what happens. Yeah, it's not quite gone away, that. not quite gone away, so it just wants a quick tweak of the purity magnets on the back. But as you can see, what an absolutely fabulous set from the 1980s. Alright guys and girls, there we go, the Fidelity ZX2000. Alright guys and girls, I'll catch you in the next video. Many thanks for watching.